At a depth of 400 meters beneath the lake lived a river god. Having survived for centuries, it lived by hunting salmon at the bottom of the lake. But occasionally, it would sneak onto land to steal radishes from the farmers' fields. As long as the river god resided in the lake, it would never dry up. Yet, less than 100 meters away from the lake, a severe drought had occurred. Crops in the fields were withering and dying, and the remaining grains were few and far between. To prevent the drought from spreading further into the village, the villagers had no choice but to invite a locally renowned shaman to set up an altar and pray for rain, hoping the heavens would send down a heavy rain to save the dying crops in their fields. They all knelt before the altar as the shaman stood on the platform, shaking a wooden rattle, continually recounting the plight of the mortal world to the heavens. This kind of traditional and foolish rain-praying method had been used by the villagers for generations. But at this moment, the river god at the bottom of the valley happened to hear the villagers' cries for help. Seeing this, it quickly ran down from the high slope, wondering why these ugly villagers were worshipping the heavens. 2 wisps of white smoke rose into the air. The villagers were lined up neatly, hundreds of families kneeling and bowing, praying for rain. Even though they had prayed for rain for 2 days, the sky was still clear and cloudless, with not even a hint of rain in sight. The puzzled river god strolled up to the villagers, staring blankly at the shaman praying on the altar. But unexpectedly, a villager noticed it. Everyone thought it was a monster causing harm, believing the reason for the long-standing drought must be its doing. Seeing this, the villagers immediately grabbed 9-foot pitchforks and struck the river god on the head. They beat it with iron forks, smashed it with bowls and pots. The whole mountain echoed with the river god's wails. In just a moment, the river god was already covered in wounds. To prevent it from escaping, the villagers tied it up tightly with hemp rope. The river god begged the villagers for mercy, saying it wasn't some evil mountain monster. But the ignorant villagers only believed what they saw. They hung the river god high and dragged it to the altar, preparing to sacrifice it to the heavens so the Dragon King would send rain. It looked up at the sky, the scorching sun continuously baking its skin, causing its body fluids to rapidly evaporate. Sweat kept dripping down its cheeks. It had no choice but to complain to the heavens, crying that it was just a humble little river god who had lived here for hundreds of years and had never done anything harmful. Now it was being abused by these unreasonable villagers. The next morning, the river god decided to use its own unique way of praying for rain to solve the drought problem for the villagers. A moment ago, it was scorching sunshine. Now, thick clouds gathered, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. Perhaps the heavens could no longer bear to see it suffer. Soon, heavy rain poured down as expected. The villagers all lifted their heads and thanked the heavens, hundreds of people cheering joyfully in the rain. At this moment, the village chief finally understood that it was all thanks to the river god. When he climbed onto the altar to release the river god, he found it was already lifeless. The villagers gathered around the river god, repenting for their various wrongdoings. The once drought-stricken fields were now full of vitality. The lakes and rivers were filled with water, and the mountains grew tender green hair. If you're a fan of Ronaldo, like the video. If you're Messi's fan, subscribe to the channel.